I believe we are live, Gina Lisa.
Oh my goodness, welcome back. It's a Roundtable Live.
Here we are.
It's already the first Thursday of a month.
I know, that's crazy. Well,
What?
It's already June. What happened? Yeah, it sneaks up on you. Well, is it safe to say we're excited to talk about this topic today?
Yeah, I think that we're excited. We were just talking about it's always good to talk about this topic because it's like taking a dose of your own medicine. Like It's a great reminder. It kind of gets you motivated again around it, and it can be a daunting subject. So I think it's a good thing to talk about.
I think it is too. And we were just saying before we went on air that it can be humbling because I think when it comes to social media, we're all amateurs and we're professionals here, we like to think, but really from a constantly learning standpoint, we're amateurs in that if we're not learning about it every day, we're behind. I feel behind all the time. So I share that because if any of you feel behind and it's overwhelming, just know that everybody does because everything's changing so fast.
Yeah, and I think that, and we're going to talk about this today too, but I think that sometimes we get hung up because you feel like you have to be an expert. And in one of the videos we're going to watch today, it's not about being an expert, it's about being an enthusiast, right? So as long as you're interested in it and you're engaging with it, you don't have to be perfect at it.
Right.
But it's something that you got to try, and it's got to be something that you're trying that you're interested in, right? Like that you have to be enthusiastic about.
Right. And that is where I get enthusiastic, is the possibilities that social media offers small businesses is astounding, really. It's a difficult thing to capture and take advantage of. It requires work. But on the other hand, in terms of the world of marketing, the opportunities for small businesses right now and in the last few years is off the charts compared to what it used to be in a marketing as a marketing function to get your business on the map and get attention and business from your customers. So I hope you can understand how much opportunity you have if you can dive into social media and really leverage it, and at a cost it's not really that painful, really. The cost is probably more in time.
Right.
Well, I thought we'd start. I wanted to start, Gina, because we did our workshop a couple weeks ago. We had a great group. We had I think it was a great 4 or 5 hours. Mm-hmm. We dove into a lot of topics. And in that workshop, you shared your experience with social media in your history of owning a business. Can you just share that with the Roundtable group so that we kind of know where your perspective comes from?
Yeah. So owned our small business for 10 years. And, when we kicked it off, it was brand new and a lot of focus on building our Facebook, kind of a Facebook followers and email, cross-communicating between our customers and getting them engaged. And throughout the years, we grew our following quite a bit, but also we really grew in what we put out into social media and how we presented ourselves, our business, our product. We started getting a method to our madness, and we also we transitioned probably about year 5 or 6. We started transitioning from just showcasing all of our product sales, things like that, to really being more of the brand ourselves and bringing our personality into our social media. And that's kind of really when it grew and our engagement grew. And when we started maybe enjoying it more as well and getting our consistency down. So,
yeah. Sort of like your social media evolved as your business evolved.
Absolutely.
Or maybe your business evolved as your social media evolved.
I guess, yeah, it could go either way.
Yeah. So Redstar is a creative agency, as you guys all know, and I just wanted to share kind of what happens behind the scenes here in terms of social media. So we have, I counted it up before we went live, we have technically seven clients that we manage the social media channels for, which comes out to, I think it's 16 different channels we're managing for those clients. And that's an everyday thing. Every day we are responsible for keeping the social media channels full of content and achieving goals and building brands every day. So we're probably posting 8 to 10 times a week across the board of all of our clients. So it's a constant conversation we have about What kind of content are we putting out? How are we doing it? What type of format should it be in? Could we do it better? What are the analytics telling us? So we have this conversation every single day. So I don't think I'm any kind of expert on social media, but we do it all the time, and I can get really excited about the possibilities of social media, but we all kind of put our heads together to get the technical details right, which is a constant evolution.
Right.
So we've got a lot of experience in this. And again, doesn't mean we're experts, but we've been in the trenches on this stuff. And we also can relate to what we hear from you guys about this. That it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Why is it overwhelming?
There's just so much out there. Who knows what your customers or what your followers really actually want to see? If you're putting yourself out there,
Yep.
Is it going to be relevant? Is it going to be embarrassing? Do I post product? What do you post?
Yeah. Figuring out what the content should be.
Right.
Having time to do it. I just want you to know that all the frustrations you guys have around social media, we get it. We've had it. We've been there, and it's normal-ish.
Like, and what the things that we hear? Yeah, it's that I don't know what to post. I don't have time.
Right.
I don't know how to use social media. I'm too old. I don't use it. I don't do it. I don't touch it.
I have my daughter do that. My grandsons.
My kids can do it.
Yeah.
What else do we hear? Yeah, I have no time, no brain space. I'm not creative in that way.
Yeah. And totally get it. But we're going to try to debunk some of those beliefs you have. I mean, one of the scariest thing I hear people talk about is, I started my business, but there's so much to do. I just don't have time for social media. Mm-hmm. But that's a red flag to me, because if you're starting a business and trying to get it off the ground and you don't have time for social media, it's like you don't have time to put a sign out front, kind of.
Absolutely.
So,
and we're going to talk about that today too. It's kind of what you're saying, and what I'm hearing is it's the shift. You know, some people think about social media as selling. Yes. It's a platform to sell stuff. But that's not what we're saying. Social media is your opportunity to build a community around your business.
Yeah, and it's a communication tool. Mm-hmm. It's a megaphone. It's a megaphone to the big world that years ago we never had. We were limited. You know, I've been doing this 30 years. When I early in the redstar history, we were doing newspaper campaigns, radio campaigns. We were buying billboards, all the things that you typically think of when you think of advertising. And you have no idea how incredibly work intensive, money intensive, all of those channels are to market. And some were effective, and were necessary, but the landscape's entirely different now. Yeah. And I would argue so many businesses don't even touch that stuff. They don't need to. I'm not saying that's the case for everybody, but it's a major shift, which is exciting. So, as we do, should we start out with some words from Seth?
I think that's a good idea.
I mean, what topic can't be better informed by some wisdom from Seth Godin? So we've got a little clip that it's the middle of a longer segment that we'll link in the comments. But we just there's a little section we want you guys to hear to get our minds in the right place.
So what marketing is now is really simple. It's building a true story that other people get a benefit from talking about. They find some sense of identity in engaging with your story. That's what marketing is. And you need to get rid of all the people in your work who think that marketing is the other thing, because they're causing you to make bad decisions.
All right. So I have some thoughts on what stood out to me, and I know you do too, Gina. So one of the things that stood out to me around Seth's words that we try to really keep in the front of our mind every day here is that your content on social media, if you're thinking about social media as a community building platform, which you should be, the opportunity with the content is to connect with your community in ways that they want to engage with your content because it represents part of their identity. They relate to it on a you're my people level. People like us do things like this. So if they can connect with your content on that level, that's when you start to see engagement and sharing, and that's when things start to really gain momentum. So I think it's a mindset shift when you think about, in order to get engagement on this post, I have to create something that my community would get excited about and go, yeah, that's me too, or I'm like that, or I want that.
Right, Betsy, but you don't always know when your community is going to be excited about something.
Excellent point.
So what's the process?
Yeah, it's a trial and error.
Yeah, exactly.
It's trial and error.
And that's, you don't know, right? And sometimes it surprises you what your audience is engaging with. And it's like, oh my gosh, people loved that.
Yes.
And I think being able to pay attention to that and even asking, like, oh my gosh, this was great. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and you make such a good point, and I want to hit on that maybe in a little bit here, but about the need for you to be the one with your head in social media versus delegating that out to somebody else.
right.
Kind of comes back to your point of it. The trial and error part is a learning process that you can't bypass or you can't delegate necessarily and be effective.
And I think too, like when you're talking about Seth and building, like engaging as a community and people wanting to follow you and wanting to interact with you, and they feel like they're a part of what you're doing and that you get them and they get you. I mean, once you're kind of get into that rhythm, social media is really fun.
Yes.
Like it's fun.
Yeah. Well, and you hit on the reason I love it. I mean, I love my work, but that's why, because all of those moments where we hear the passion you have for your business and the excitement you have about the change you're trying to make in the world or the way you're trying to make your community better, those are all the things that can come out on social media, give you a platform to communicate that with everybody and be passionate about it. And what greater feeling is that than to be able to do that and do it well.
Right.
So that's where it all ties together with some of the work we do in our workshops around understanding your why, being able to communicate what you really believe in and what's driving you to get up every day. So
I think that's a good segue into our next video.
yeah, take it away.
Well, so Gary Vee was our next video. So also in talking about social media, how can you not include some clips and words of advice?
Right, from Gary Vee. And I'll just say right now, Gary Vee is a very polarizing personality in the marketing. I love him because he keeps everybody on their toes. He pushes hard and keeps the energy high in all these learning curves that we're in. I don't always agree with him, and you don't have to agree with him to take wisdom away from what he's saying. But he makes some really compelling points. And I think a couple of the clips we chose, I think he hits on some really good angles. So
yeah, so this clip here will get started. It's about creating content.
Isn't working because it's selfish. You want the likes, you want the money, you want to sell the thing, and we don't want that. You need to put out things that provide value, and they can come in a lot of shapes and sizes. I'll tell you who I'm really fascinated by. The people who are posting on a daily basis, who have very tiny audiences and enjoy it to no end. They enjoy it because they just want to share videos of them playing video games or cooking or things of that nature. This becomes a very simple game of why are you doing this? If you're doing it because you love the thing that you're putting out there and it's part of the process, you're gonna win. Most of the social that's
okay, so many things about that. I'm going to start by talking about being selfish on social media.
All right.
What does that mean? And I resonate with that, but I'm not sure everybody will. I believe what he means by being selfish is that, when we talk about the customer experience and we talk about putting ourselves in our customers' shoes, a lot of times we have so much we need our customers to know. We want them to know. We want them to want to know. But he's saying that's a selfish attitude because your community wants what they want. And your job is to understand what they want and to deliver that. And if you don't put yourself in the customer's shoes and take that perspective, you're being selfish because that's just by default. You have a list of things you need them to know. You have a list of products you want them to understand. But if that's not what they want, then you're just on your own agenda. And they will sense that right away, and they will not be as compelled to join your conversations or community. So I like that he says selfish because that puts it on us. people get frustrated. Well, it's such a learning curve. They need to understand these things. Well, when you're selfish about that, it means all you're thinking about is from me to you, pushing out information. And he's suggesting you got to flip that. If you're going to think about social media content, flip it. Flip your perspective. So,
yeah. I think he talks about being engaging. He talks about loving what you're posting. And I kind of like too when he's talking about like what I love right now is people who are posting videos doing the things that they love. Maybe they don't have a lot of followers or views, but they're posting videos that they love and you can tell. So like I take out of it authentic posts, like where you're being yourself. And we've talked about this on many podcasts and things that we've done too, but I think that's what resonates with customers and with people is when they can tell that you're being your authentic self and that you're engaging and that you mean it.
Yeah.
You know?
Which brings us back to how do you delegate that? How do you delegate communicating that you're passionate about something or you care deeply? It's hard to do that. And so that's why, at least for a certain time in the launch process or in the marketing process, you've got to be in there. It's got to be fueled by you and your passion and your love. And that's what has to be communicated. Or it's not really going to be engaging. I think a lot of people come to social media content and construct it like they used to construct ads for the newspaper.
Absolutely.
And that's a different mindset. And we'll talk about that. Those are some content types that we need to be like parsing out and understanding. But his idea that it's our whole concept of love your work. Like the more you can be in that love of your work and communicate that in your business, as you're talking to customers on social media, the more people are just going to be drawn to you. And that's what social media, that's the megaphone part of social media, right? It allows you to communicate that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just about putting product out there and selling it. So what do you say to the person who says, well, I have social media and all my customers care about is what I have for sale or what's going on that day or what the sale items are?
I would say, do they? If you think that's all your customers care about, you're getting a lot more than social media wrong. Mm-hmm. You're not really understanding the building a tribe concept, the building a community of believers in what you're trying to do as a business. You know, if you're a restaurant and you think all they want to know is your specials, I think there's a strong argument for that's just a small piece of what they want to know. But that's probably the lowest bar of them to engage with your business. But the missed opportunity there is you're not really telling them the whole story about what you're here to do.
So if a company came out and said, oh, let's just talk about this. This is the important stuff. We don't need to do the other things. People don't need to see me. People don't need to see my staff. They don't need to hear from me. That's not important. This is what matters. This is my business.
Well,
the rest is fluff.
Fluff. Oh, how many times have I heard that word? How many times have I been accused of creating fluff? I can't even tell you. Well, so one thing I'll share about what our work involves. So we represent larger companies on social media, which is super challenging because that's two steps away from this idea of the people who love it and the passion behind the company and all that, right, which is not a dynamic I can change necessarily. But I can represent people on social media as best I can by understanding as much as I can about how to communicate that. But I was on a call the other day, and I'm managing a company channel on LinkedIn. And I had a call with the team of people that this channel represents, and I was pushing really hard to get, as part of the strategy, to get each one of them involved personally in the social content that was going out from this platform. And I simply can't get any of them to appreciate or value that part of the strategy. They really are believers, unfortunately, that that's my job. My job is to run the social media, and I don't disagree with that. But my job is to have a successful strategy, which right now in the world of social media means it's people to people. If it's not people to people, you're not going to be effective. Brands need to be out there building their brands around the messaging and the meaning and all that. But when it comes to really engaging, it's people talking to other people. So my challenge as a, on the marketing side with this client is to continue to push until they understand and value the role they have in personally getting involved with social as a piece of a larger strategy. It's not the whole strategy, but, and that's really hard. So they can't delegate that to me and be completely effective. As good as I might think I am at creating content, I can't replace that personal perspective that they need to bring to the content. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. And also in this, I may be a little off on this, but isn't that the people-to-people thing is also just so reflected in how huge companies, large companies, all companies are even using influencers and people to talk about their product, to talk about maybe what they're selling, but even their, like, it's even in job recruitment tools. It's in everything.
Right.
Like, it's people are using people or hiring people to try to communicate all that.
Yeah, because that's where people look for validation for what they're going to buy or who they're going to do business with. They're not looking to, they're not just Googling stuff. They're checking around and figuring out who else is a customer, what are the reviews saying, does Gina like it? If Gina likes it, I'll probably like it, that kind of thing. And so you can't change that dynamic. That's just what's driving, consumer and business spending, I believe. Mm-hmm. Even on a business-to-business side, the trends in business-to-business marketing via social media has become more focused on create a more individual relationship between a company and another potential customer. You have to drill down to the person-to-person level, even as a business-to-business transaction. You know what I mean? So it's definitely driving.
So when you're talking about that, I thought about the example that when we had our social media expert in and was working with us too, but he used Target as an example of reposting and posting community posts about Target and like community building as part of their social strategy, and that how engaging those posts were. Like the customers actually in the store posting about products, items, their kids, their drinks, the weather, whatever, but using those posts to promote their social.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point that I wanted to share, in the spirit of being completely transparent. So there's 8 people in our agency. We do social media every day. But this year, we were it was very clear to me that we were behind or going to be behind very soon in understanding social media if we didn't get some help. So we brought in a consultant just for our team, and I think we've had 3 or 4 sessions with him. He's specifically done audits on our client social media accounts and given us his tips and perspectives on what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. We brought in someone from the outside just so we could better understand what's happening and what needs to change. So, we're not the experts either. It's sort of a collaborative effort to stay ahead of this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where do we want to go next?
Well, I think that let's talk about this content. Let's talk about, brand building, sales, community building content, because that's, if people are looking at, well, I don't know what to put out there and I don't know how much to put out there, and now you're telling me that I have to be out there, it has to be real and authentic, what do I do?
Yeah. Well, so the overwhelm has a lot to do with, I just don't know what to post, and how do I possibly be consistent when I'm just so overwhelmed posting 1 time a week. So what we do as a tool is we create content types for each client. So we look at each client and say, okay, here's 2 or 3 types of content that they need in order to cover all the bases of their social media goals. Usually there's brand building. I mean, brand building is a central, activity of social. So there's always going to be brand building, but also you want to sell stuff. Everyone needs to sell stuff. So the content type around brand building is across all of our clients. And then across all of our clients, there's how do we sell the thing, the service, the product? How do we get that part of it in front of people? So that's 2 content types. And then the third content type that we always try to keep in the mix, which is easy to forget, is sort of that community building content. So what I mean by that is The sole point of that post is to engage your community. It's not to sell them anything. It's not to talk about you or your brand. It's to invite them into a conversation or to share with them something that is uniquely exciting to them, if you know what I mean. And so those three perspectives, those are common content types that we use when we address all the needs we have. And if you can think about it that way, it starts to bring down the chaos in your mind of, okay, so I have three content types. Okay, so I need to do one post a week for each content type, for example.
Right. So what's an example of brand building content?
So brand building content, we do a ton of this, of course, but it's really talking about and highlighting aspects of the activities of the company that reflect the brand. How are they being the brand? And what is the brand? So with one of our companies, for example, the culture of the company, how the leadership makes decisions, how the employees feel about their job, how the values drive activities and behaviors in the company, that's an incredibly important thing. So our posts around that stuff are really about building the brand so that people can understand what's really going on in the company. So we highlight employees, we highlight leadership, we show the impact of the projects that they do for the communities. We have insights on how the values of the company impact how it feels to work there. So it's very focused on sort of the inner workings of the company.
That makes sense.
And I will say that that is probably our primary content type across all. And part of what's driving that as a primary content type is the workforce challenges we have. So almost every client we have is in recruitment mode almost all the time. So if you can't build a solid brand on social media and be really clear and compelling, it's really hard to recruit.
Yeah, that's where people find you, and that's where people find their information now.
Yeah, and that's where you get validated, right?
Absolutely.
They're kind of assessing you on social media as another filter for whether they're wanting to seek you out. So brand building is huge.
So what's an example? So sales and promotion can be anything from posting your daily lunch specials to...
Yeah, just getting into product specific posts about, the impact of the products or how they work or how to purchase them. Sales specific oftentimes for us means directing people to, a sales team or a contact. It has a call to action typically. If there's not a call to action, it's not going to really be salesy. But your call to action doesn't necessarily mean buy now.
Right.
It means putting them into the sales funnel, whatever that means. Getting them in there so that the next thing can happen. But it's tricky to do that in a way that still feels in the culture of the social world. So it's not just like building a newspaper ad,
Right.
50% off till Saturday.
Right.
That can work. I'm not saying that can't work, but just keep in mind that should not be how you approach it all the time. So.
Right. So like a live video would be an example of some sales and promotion items, like if you're doing a live about what's going on in your business or what's happening.
Yeah. Lives, and you know this because you did them so well when you had the Happy Soul, lives in terms of sales and promotions, I think we've seen that become almost the go-to. Maybe not the go-to because it's technically a little challenging to do, but I think of Lori at the quilt shop for, lives were her predominant online sales tool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what's your experience with lives and where do they fit?
Yeah, I'd say it's sales and promotion, but it's also a little bit of brand building, also a little bit of community building. And so I think primarily sales and promotion, but lives are fun because you get to interact with customers while you're promoting or selling your product too. So like when we were doing them, it'd be fun to read the comments that people would be typing as you're doing a live or the questions that would come up. So it kind of gives you an opportunity that, you're selling, but you're still showing like your personality and your customer interaction. And then for the customers, they also get to see what other customers are saying and doing about product. And by no influence of us. It's raw. It's happening as it's happening,
Yeah. And isn't that another element of social that the world demands is that transparency or authenticity,
Yeah.
whatever you call it. Authenticity is kind of overused, but it's really, don't overproduce this. Tell me like it is. I want to see the real Gina. I want to understand the real happy soul culture. I think of, when our companies go through our programs, and at some point in the programs, they're standing in front of us and pitching their story, or there's something. And there's these moments when it's just like you get goosebumps because people are able to share how passionate they are about something,
Yes.
or what they really believe in. And you can see it on their face, you can see it in their body. And the opportunity to do that live on social media is really where it's at, because it's in there. We see it all the time. I don't know that we've had a company that doesn't have a moment like that. And we're just saying, have that experience or take that moment to social media if you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea. Maybe next time we should just do them all live.
Yeah. Watch out.
Uh-oh. Okay, community building. What's an example of community building as a post?
There's so many ways to build community. We had one program from a few years ago that was so much fun. So one of our channels is a business to business channel, and our customers are work crews that are out, in the fields, working hard under the hot sun every night or every day. And they are our target audience for our social channel. They're our customers. And what we really want to do is engage our own customers and get them to advocate for us, or to be our, our not affiliates. What am I looking for? The
Influencers?
Yes. Yeah. So we had a program where if we were promoting safety at the time, if you submitted a photo of your team in safety gear on your job site and you tagged us, we would send you all Dayglow t-shirts, safety t-shirts from our company. And it was hopefully to get them to be posting about themselves and about us. And then they would post again when they all had their shirts on, and then they would post another, and they would tag us, and then we would share it. And it was really successful. And it sounds like a lot of work, but it really wasn't that much work. And you think about the cost of doing that, it was the cost of some shirts, which I value anyway, if they're walking around with them on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but it was just throw a little creativity into the mix and just try stuff and see what you can make happen. That's what it takes to engage your community in sort of a community building way. It can't just be, do you like to drink coffee or Mountain Dew? Take our poll.
Yes.
We have to.
These things happen.
Yeah. You got to really think about what drives your community. What do they care about?
Right. We used to do, like when we would go to market, we would do like on our Instagram and Facebook stories, we would do this or that for purchasing, so like there's 2 sweaters, you guys choose this or that. And then we'd order that sweater and let people know when it came in, so they kind of had a say in what was actually coming into the store, or like which shoe do you guys want? And if it was tied, we'd get both or whatever. And then we'd repost when they would come in. Or like another example of community building is if sometimes our customers would post photos of them wearing our product or using our product and tag us. And so we would be able to repost those on our page. And I've had that too, just in a variety of different places, like our local bakery or our coffee shop, that maybe I've taken a picture, or they've even taken a picture. So do you mind if we post that, or can we repost that on our page? And it's always like, yeah, that's a great idea. But then all of my fans and friends are seeing it posted on their page as well, so they know I'm a believer. And it might, so kind of trying to use some of that content from your customers too.
Yeah, and thinking about what that content is goes back to what Seth said about what content can I create that my community will see as part of their identity, or they want to be attached to because it reflects something they also believe in or like or feel passionate about. And what I just encourage you to do is, when you get to the community building content, allow yourself to let go of any goal around selling anything or branding anything. Just think about, if you're going to throw a party for the people that you're trying to target, what would you be doing? How would you pick the vibe or the music or the whatever? And then it changes your thinking around.
That's a great tip.
So, Yeah.
Just think about it as just throwing a party. If you're throwing a party, what would you want there? Yeah.
And I would say one primary objective of community building content is that the customers have to see themselves in it. Right? They have to see other, and I don't mean just photos of them.
Right.
I just mean they have to see their comments in somewhere that others are seeing, and they have to see their own content maybe as part of it, or they have to see themselves somehow in the content.
Okay.
So
brand building, sales and promotion, community building. So those are 3 good way to kind of structure what you're going to be posting in your social and what your content can look like. So it helps at least give you some direction and guidance.
yes, and it also says, you know, it's okay for me to do this community building. I'm not forgetting to sell. I'm going to sell 2 days from now with my other post. I got that covered. I got to cover all 3 of them, and it kind of gives you permission to think separately about each type of content and do it well.
So something that we'd also talked about when we were talking about the types of content, but also tagging and feeling overwhelmed because you don't know what, is in our workshop, we talked about having staff or team members help with the posting as well.
Yes. You had the best example of that I've ever heard, so share that. Just because it was so specific.
You need to talk to more people. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, so Gina just in real time, in a real way, in a doable way, just did it. Just implemented a program.
Yeah, well, we had a few different ways that we implemented it, and I'm trying to think of which that we had talked about, but we had started like shared Google photo albums for our staff. And we had them take photos and type, you know, you can type in the caption of your photo, like what interests you about it. But we would tell our staff, like, if there's anything that comes in that you think is cool or that you want to take photos of or that you want to try on or whatever, take photos and upload it to this album, and we can use them as we go, you know, through the year. But we always had content that way, and sometimes it was interrelated. But we also set aside time every week in our staff's schedule, and we specifically schedule employees during that time slot, and they knew it was like a photo time slot time. So they would like all week prepare, if they were on the schedule for that time, all week they would prepare what they're going to be like either trying on or showing or how they're going to use something. And we put together different looks or product. And then during that time, every week, it was like it was the photo session. So it was different employees, similar photographers, like 1 or 2 of the photo takers, and then different employees in them that wanted to be in them. But that was really fun.
Yeah. There's 2 really important parts of that you're sharing. The first one is you got your employees involved in your social media, not as a task on their task list necessarily,
right?
But as a piece of belonging to your organization, to being part of something, to feeling like their opinions are in the mix, right? And so that's a culture building tool, but also it works well as your tool to getting social media, you know, covered, right? So how did you decide, and how did you feel about letting them get that involved?
Okay, well, actually, I was really nervous about it, and it took me a long time to get to that place.
Yes, that's
because
fair.
I wanted to control the messaging, and like even like at one point, I had it so like down that I'd be like, okay, on Monday I'm going to post about this, and then on Wednesday I'll do somebody using that item, and then on Friday I'll have it staged for selling the item, and like I had it so like worked out in my mind. But when we pulled in our employees and having them helping with more of the photos and them picking up more of the items, it actually got to be really fun. One, it increased their education around what we were selling a lot because they were like really digging into it when they'd come into work. And 2, they felt like they were engaged, and then it increased their engagement with our page too.
Yes.
Because they could see it, or their parents would see it, or their family would see
Right.
it, and they would be commenting on it. And then it just kind of got to be more fun. Like it got to be fun.
Yeah,
Right.
and if you think about social as a community building platform, that all makes sense, that it works. And that idea that you want to control, we're guilty of that all the time. We're always trying to over control. I shouldn't say it that way. Our job is to very much control and build brands, but we always have to check ourselves that we're trying to control it too much.
Yeah, but too, that's like going back to the very first thing we said. That's one of the fun parts of having a small business.
Right.
Like you
go.
can try things, you can be engaged with things. I mean, it's down to you, right?
Well, yeah, and don't we all know as human beings, the vulnerability is attractive, really.
That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, yeah. So you got your employees involved. So that probably solved a myriad of, not problems, but it helped you in a myriad of ways, as you said. The second part of it was you had a disciplined process to making it happen. It wasn't just haphazard. It wasn't just so-and-so just posted without you seeing it.
No.
So tell me about how you found the balance of the spontaneity of it versus the process of it.
Yeah, well, so I think by having like the Google photo albums or so our staff they would submit their ideas and photos to us, and then we would actually put them in the schedule and post them. So we had control of of what was going up and when it was going up, but also you just reminded me, like, if a staff would come with an idea, like oftentimes we would work together and meet on the middle on how it would look, but it would usually work. Like we had one of our employees had her own photography business, and she wanted to collaborate on like a package deal, like with some clothing, with some photos, and we kind of let her build it, and we added in what we want her to highlight for us and what she would highlight, and it was a huge hit. Like on Instagram, it was huge for us, and it was like, wow, if we would never let her do this, we wouldn't have reached that whole demographic that she has, and it was huge for her because she reached our whole demographic too, right? So, yeah, just hearing them out, I think, and working on it in the middle and kind of make sure that it works for you and that it's your messaging, but other people have really great ideas.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You know, that reminds me of the conversation you had with Donnie last month. Right?
Yeah.
So how does that tie to what he was sharing about engaging a younger workforce?
Yeah, how did it tie, like, Donnie relies a lot on a younger workforce, and it works for him because he puts a lot into their court, but they also put a lot into Donnie, right? Like he invests in them, he cares with them, and he recognizes that they have different strengths and weaknesses. But he was sharing too that he works with some of his staff for social media, and they meet, they collaborate on it, they make a game plan, and yeah, he might have the final say of what's posted and what's put up, but they're helping create all of this content, and it's working because it gives them ownership over what they're doing, and it makes them feel really invested in it. And then too, they're engaging friends and different audiences, and it's fun for them.
Yeah. And you're talking about Donnie Schoenbrook. I never say your name right, Donnie. I'm sorry. He owns Cat's Hog Heaven and Cabin Coffee.
Cabin Coffee, in Jackson, Minnesota.
Yeah. So check out our last roundtable to hear more about that. I think it's an important piece of how he's successful in his workforce he's got a waiting list. Am I right?
He has a waiting list. When there's a position that opens up, he has a waiting list of staff he has no issues with being short staffed.
Yeah.
And he invests a lot into like probably a non-traditional workforce, a younger workforce or an older workforce, and it totally works for him. And I think when you're talking about how he's offering some ownership to these employees and these staff, these high schoolers, he's not telling them what to take a picture of, and I think that's a needed clarification, because if you go to everybody knows what teenagers or staff or whatever, if you go to them and say, here's this item, and you can, but I want you to take a picture of this drink at this time and post it now, you're probably not going to get the same creative value that you would by saying, hey, what's your favorite drink? Why do you like it? Put it on a chalkboard. Let us know why. Take a photo of it. You're not telling them what to do. You're asking for their input.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where the idea that younger people are more tuned in to what works on social media really plays into it. Mm-hmm. If they can be part of that process, they can dial your social media into a place where it's much more relevant.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you're on TikTok, everybody, but if you are, you know that there's all these sort of trending looks and sounds and storytelling. And if you can tap into that by leveraging younger, workforce members, you just got to do it the right way.
Right. And you just reminded me of a story about one of our employees that of like loved. And remember us being like, why aren't you engaging with us? Like, or you should post it on your Instagram. And I remember her being like, oh no, my grid is sacred. Like, I'm not going to put that on my grid. Like, it's very well thought out, like her Instagram, grid.
Yeah.
She's like, no, it's very planned out. We were like, oh, well, why don't you take a picture of something you would want on your grid? And she was like, I can? We were like, whoa, we were missing the boat on that. Like, yeah, if you pick out something. And then I think she did like a photo shoot or something and we made it on her grid and we were like, yes, it's cool. Like, we did it. But yeah, that was kind of an eye-opening thing that like, oh, if you don't want to post it and share about it on your social, I wonder if we're doing something wrong here.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
She's got some control issues, but
well, but it goes back to like it's a thing. Like, they're invested in it. They've got their eyes out. They're watching it.
Yeah,
you know, like they know that other people are watching them. They're watching companies and other people, and they're not gonna like just because you're telling them to change what they're posting or what they have on there. They're like, no way. It's got to be in their control because that's how important it is to them.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point, which also makes us understand the value social media has.
Right.
As a tool.
Right.
Because it plays such an important role in people's lives every day.
Right.
Yeah. There's a humility you need to have with social media. I think you were just kind of getting to that too. Like, enthusiasm's so important. We're going to hear a little bit about that, but you have to continue to have the humility to know that not all your ideas are going to work the way you want.
Yeah.
And other people might have better ideas.
Yeah.
And you got to keep your eyes open for those all the time.
Yep.
So, okay,
right.
What's our next hit?
Well, we have another Gary V that we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk about, and we've been kind of flirting around the topic of how impactful and underpriced social media really is. So Gary's going to share a little bit from one of his shorts.
How to play this matrix of attention properly. As we sit here today, the following platforms are completely underpriced in both their organic reach and their paid media. Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn. This is profound. All of the platforms are underpriced. Why this is so important? A lot of you, including myself, grew up in an era where you would amass followers and you would post and you would get a percentage of those followers to see it. It was more email marketing than it was social. We are now in the post-TikTokification of social media, where you can absolutely get way more exposure than you've earned because you don't have to build a list or a community. You just have to make individual pieces of content strong. This has now penetrated every platform. So few people have figured out how.
All right, so there's a few things in there.
Yeah.
What stands out to you?
Well, I think,
so much.
where do you want to start? Post-TikTokification?
Well, let me start by the beginning because I can speak to the, the cost, the value of social media as a marketing expense.
Okay.
Back in the day, you had to spend tens of thousands of dollars to feel like you had enough out in the world to serve any kind of goal around, marketing. And what he's saying is social media is underpriced based on the kind of reach and frequency you can build. So reach and frequency are the main drivers of all marketing, of advertising in particular. Reach is off the charts on social media. Whereas if I just did a magazine ad contract for a client. I think it was $8,700. They're going to get 3 ads and 3 printed publications that probably have a lifespan of maybe 5 minutes, if they're lucky, with any set of eyeballs. And, so the idea that that's $8,700, but I could go put an ad on Facebook and spend $100 and reach probably 5 times as many people. Now, you got to have the right audience. That's a whole other piece of the dynamic.
Yeah.
But in terms of potential reach, the cost ratio of social is incredibly low. So Sorry, that I just wanted to kind of lay that groundwork, and because we can go into that with that mindset, it changes, I think, your respect for the tool, because it sounds expensive, and yeah, it can feel expensive when, you know, what do you mean I gotta allocate $300 a month for social media ads?
Right, that adds up.
Well, yeah, I respect that. I get it. That's a lot of money, but
However,
relative to what it would have cost you 10 years ago to reach that many people with traditional advertising, it's not even, doesn't even touch it.
No, and it's fun because you also get to see, like, it's very easy to watch your numbers and see how and who it's reaching,
Yes.
who's interacting with it. Like, it's fun because it's a two-way, you're getting feedback from the advertising money that you're putting in. So it can help kind of direct you too.
Right.
Also something that Gary Vee says, and I see we have a comment about this earlier, but it's not about just getting more likes and getting more followers to follow your page right now.
Right. Right.
It's about posting really good content that people want to react to or want to see and to like. And I remember, like, when we first started our social, that's what it was all about. It was like, we got to get as many followers as possible. We got to get as many people. This number has got to be high.
Yes. Because why? Because that meant that's all the more people you were going to get in front of. You're guaranteed to get in front of, especially you're getting email addresses for your email. That was like the whole goal, right?
Yeah.
Just want them to sign up for my email.
Right.
Because back, several years ago, that meant you have a viable tool to reach enough people.
Right. But now, I mean, I don't know if you notice on your own social media pages, like, I like and follow a lot of different businesses, and I think it's interesting that sometimes they never even pop up in my feed.
Right.
What's popping up is the stuff that I'm watching.
Yes.
And then it's just more of that.
Yes. Yeah, so the algorithms of social media, as we hear a lot of people talk about, they're constantly changing, of course. But one thing for sure that's changed is the frequency that you're hitting the feed of all of the people following your page. Mm-hmm. Do followers impact your ability to be successful? Absolutely they do, but they are not the only measure of your success. I think what he's saying with the TikTokification, you could start a TikTok channel tomorrow, post one piece of content, and a million people could see it because the content had the right formula of whatever, and people shared it and liked it and duetted it and whatever. So your success is not, as he would say, predicated on whether you have followers.
Right.
It just isn't.
And if a million people see it, you don't have a million followers. It's a million people viewed that, right?
Right. So it's just a bless you. It's just a different dynamic, and it doesn't mean followers don't matter. It doesn't mean that's not part of your goal. It is. But that's not everything. And if that's not all you're setting your sights on, you're missing a huge dynamic of the whole social media opportunity.
What's TikTokification?
TikTok, this is how I would interpret it. I think it's open to interpretation, but it's all about short, dynamic clips that have a little bit of an entertainment value, possibly, but they're less intense. And TikTok, as you probably have seen, can cross other platforms. You can bring TikTok content into other platforms. And TikTok is delivered differently. It's the For You, it's delivered without you doing anything, and it's built around what you continue to engage with. So like on Instagram, the user experience on Instagram has changed dramatically because you don't necessarily see that much of a feed. You see the reels.
Yep.
And the reels are delivered with a different algorithm than the feed is, from what I understand. Again, not an expert, but we're just starting to kind of get our heads around that and understand that if we're not doing reels on Instagram, we're not going to be seen. We're just not. So across all platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook has reels, and now YouTube Shorts. Short video is where it's at. To me, that's kind of the TikTokification.
Right. And I think, and Gary Vee has a lot of videos on this too, but with the YouTube Shorts, it's so important. And this probably goes across all social channels, but it's so important because people are using social media as a search tool now. They're researching what to buy, where to go. They're researching, all of the things, and social media is the place where they're getting these answers
Yes.
and this information. So like when you're using the videos or the shorts, yeah, that's where people are going to find out. I think not that long ago I was having a conversation with Cole about Disney World and our children, and of course how phones and everything work. But that's like all of my reels now and all of my shorts. Our family's going to Disney World and all of the tips and tricks. And man, do they suck me in, because I'm like, oh, where are they staying? Oh, this is fun. You know, it's where you get your information. So if I actually were to be planning that trip, it is the first place I'm going to go.
Yeah. 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 And, you know, we're all consumers of social media. Pay attention.
Yes.
What's happening? How are they delivering content to you? How is your content being determined? We're all learning this partly by using social media.
Yeah.
So don't think that there's some, like, you know, how-to video somewhere that you just haven't seen yet. It's just a constant learning curve, and part of the learning curve is being a user.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and even if you don't use or post or are active on social media, you're consuming.
Right.
So your business may as well put something out to be consumed.
Right. Yeah, and in terms of a short, so you and I did a little video yesterday.
Yeah.
I think the short concept, the reel concept, almost is kind of freeing, because what that type of content wants from you is a little bit spontaneity. You know, one take only kind of thing. Don't go too deep into any topic. Just, you know, kind of give us a little piece of things. So in some ways, it can be a little bit of a lighter version of maybe some of the things you were posting differently.
Yeah, absolutely. In Gary Vee's conversation, he had talked a little bit about it's so underpriced.
Yes.
Organic and paid. What's your take on the paid, organic, and how to use both?
Such a good question, and something I learned this year in spades that I did not understand. So this is new information for our agency. So what our consultant told us is that if you have a small team, which we all do, you need to plan your resources carefully. So posting every single day organically is not the best use of your resources. Posting maybe twice a week organically with really good content, but then taking one piece of content, which is probably more sales oriented, and making it an ad and putting money behind it, your reach is going to go off the charts with that. And that is a great way to stay in front of people that you want to be in front of without constantly putting out organic content, which is very time intensive. So paid social is where you can get quick reach. And that's what everybody wants. So find a balance between the two. So we've actually pulled back on our organic posting to try to find that better balance of using paid to build reach and rely on organic to have a more kind of intense community building role. So it's a balance, and it's different for everyone how to strike it. But it's a shift for sure in our mind. If you're not, our way of thinking was, if we're not posting 5 times a week on a channel, we're not doing our job. And it was a total mind shift to know that, no, that shouldn't be your requirement. It's all about finding a balance between organic and paid as a total package. Does that make sense? I mean,
That does make sense.
Yeah.
And it's important. I think what you just said too about another thought entered my mind, but about it's not about having to just putting up something every day. Something has to go on. It's about what's going on.
Yes.
More than just posting something for the sake of posting something that has value.
Yes, because keep in mind now with the algorithms the way they are, if you post 5 times a week, that doesn't mean everyone that's following you is seeing you 5 times a week.
Oh, absolutely not.
They're not.
They're probably seeing you.
They're probably seeing you a couple times, so you're putting a ton of effort into the posting more is not getting you more necessarily. We just kind of want you to be thinking about it that way.
Right.
You're better off making a really amazing one post a week that might go a little more viral or get more engagement than posting 5 times a week just to post.
Right. All right.
I feel like we could talk about this forever.
Well, we sure could, but we're also running out of time. I mean, if people could just hop on and stay for a day.
I know. Well, I think we accomplished one thing in this, and if you came hoping to get very specific how-tos on certain things, we've got some of that we could follow up with another roundtable.
Sure.
But I think the most important thing is for us to help you understand and get excited about social media.
Yeah, to have fun with it,
Yes.
to be authentic, to be vulnerable with it.
Yeah, and think about it differently. It's not just something on your to-do list, and it definitely shouldn't be prioritized after all the other things because you're so busy. This is how you're going to build your business as much as the sign out front is.
Yeah.
As much as the way the store looks on the inside. It's really important, but I don't say that so it feels like crushing requirement.
Right.
Just get excited about it. Like,
Right.
wow, I want to open this small business. And here I have this tool where I can tell thousands of people how excited I am, how much I care about the work I'm doing, how great my products and services are. That's relatively new. So
Yeah.
get excited about it.
Yeah, and I think when we were talking about this yesterday too, you had said, what you're putting out there is what you're going to get back too.
Yeah.
So if you want it to be fun, you want it to be engaging, put out that sort of content.
Yeah, and stay
Have
in
a
there,
good
you
time with
guys.
it.
Don't delegate this out. Get help, of course. Be collaborative, yes, just like Gina shared. But you got to be in this because this is part of how you're going to learn what your customers want, what your community is all about. This is a learning tool as much as anything. And if you bypass that, it's a huge missed opportunity.
Well, it's good motivator. Time to take the advice and put it into my own practice as well. So
Well, yeah, we both said we're going to listen to ourselves and take our own advice. So
This is the thing.
we all need it.
All right. Well, we will be back with another live roundtable the first Thursday of the month in July. Join us. Topic will be announced shortly.
Yeah, any ideas you have too for topics, please let us know. Message us or comment on this and give us some of your thoughts on topics you'd like to hear about.
Yeah.
All right. See ya.